Okay, so rebranded the channel for my viewers, which there may not be any, and now it's just called Running List of Complaints, and it's going to be the show where we just complain about society and the way things are. And so today's episode is going to be about suburban sprawl and public schooling and how they reinforce each other. So, one of the fundamental rules, I guess, of public education is that you go to the school which you are zoned for or whose school district your house is within. So, in order to send your child to a particular school, you need to make sure you live in that area if you have a strong desire for your kid to go to a school. So, generally, people want their kids to go to schools where there's good test results, and so when they're shopping for a home, getting settled down, starting a family, one of the big things to look at is school zone, and you try and find a school zone that has good middle schools, good high schools, good elementary schools, so that your kids can get the best education. And this might cause you to pick an area of the city you live in that you wouldn't otherwise have lived in. When you were younger, you probably lived closer to your job. Now that you're settling down, generally the trend is people move out to the suburbs. And a big part of this is for the schools. So I'm just going to kind of illustrate here with Zillow and some of the school rankings how this plays out in Tallahassee, where I live. So if you follow my cursor, right where it says Tallahassee, that's kind of downtown. And this over here is a neighborhood that, I don't know, I wouldn't mind living there. It's pretty close, convenient to downtown. Then you click on the houses. And they are single family houses, so it's not like the middle of the city or anything. And you have a park over here and where it says Indian Head Lay, that green spot. This is a big park running down that portion of the map. But then you go to school zones. And you got like a 3 out of 10 elementary school, right? So that's not great. 6 out of 10 middle school, that's, whatever. I wouldn't mind sending my kid to a 6 out of 10, whatever that means. Slightly above average, but then, 5 out of 10 high school, I don't know, because then you're sending them to college. Just makes you skeptical of whether or not you want to buy a house there and kind of put your kids through those schools, especially that elementary school and the high school. Here's another part of town. This is Frenchtown. You see there's like a cluster of cheap houses in here, so you can already suspect that the school zones are not going to be great. But again, really convenient to downtown, really pedestrian friendly. The houses are pretty close together here. You kind of have a denser living environment. This house looks nasty. But nonetheless, it's going to give us an illustration of what the school zone is, so I'm not going to waste too much time trying to find a better house to look at. Here you got a 2 out of 10 elementary school, 3 out of 10 middle school, and actually Leon High, this is a pretty decent high school in Tallahassee. There are better ones, but if I end up buying a house in Tallahassee, it's probably going to be zoned for Leon High. Okay, I'm going to have to set the price a little bit higher here, because there's actually some nice neighborhoods close to downtown. Here's a property that actually is kind of it's a sort of a duplex, but one of the units is a lot bigger than the other that I've looked at. Anyways, here again, these schools are a bit better. You don't have any of those like really bad elementary schools that we saw in the other school zones. But they're still mediocre, 5 out of 10. You got Leon High again, which is a decent high school. But then let's contrast this with some of these really far out neighborhoods. So everything I've looked at so far, you could feasibly ride your bike to work, right? And so that's kind of like a big indicator of, is this like a, dense, biker-friendly, walker-friendly neighborhood that's close to the errands that everybody needs to do in their day-to-day life? Or is it just suburban sprawl, you can't get anywhere without getting in your car? So now we're going to look at some of those neighborhoods where the latter is true, you cannot get anywhere except for maybe a park without getting in your car. So this, I don't know how far out this is from downtown by bicycle, but nobody would ever ride their bike to work. I can safely say that it's too far. But look, you got the 10 out of 10 elementary school, right? I mean, who doesn't want to send their kid very young child, to the best elementary school it can, or at least a good one. The middle school is, again, better than anything we saw in those closer in suburbs. This high school is actually rated below Leon, but, decent anyways. Let's see. And now up here, this is even further out than that neighborhood I just showed you. This is like on the other side of a highway from downtown. It's got to be at least, I would imagine it would take like an hour to ride your bike downtown from here. And you'd have to cross, several 6-lane roads. It would be impossible. Like, you got to drive anywhere if you're going to live out here. But look at the school zones. And you got, this is like, I think probably one of the best school districts in Tallahassee. You got a 10 for 10 elementary school, 8 for 10 middle and high. I think this is probably the best public high school in Tallahassee. And, the houses are affordable too, right? I mean, relatively, $225, it's nothing outrageous. Some of these closer in neighborhoods that have worse schools have more expensive houses than that, right? So you're paying more and you're getting less in terms of education. So it's a massive disincentive if you're a family to live in a close neighborhood where you're going to be able to walk to work, bike to work, cut down on your electric bill. And it's just a real strong incentive towards sprawl to have these public school zones. If you didn't have school zones and people could choose to send their kids wherever they want, and you had market competition, you would probably have schools incentivized to build in convenient places. You could get all different varieties of school quality in different parts of the city. I don't know. This is just how I would expect it would play out. Obviously, we don't have that system, so it's impossible to know. But yeah, this is just a quick illustration of how school zones kind of incentivize people to move away from cities. Obviously, I'm just using Tallahassee as an example, but I suspect this would repeat itself elsewhere. And just real quick, at another market I've looked at that I'm interested in maybe living in one day, I'll just re-illustrate this point. Okay, so this is a residential neighborhood. It's suburban, but it's pretty close to downtown Jacksonville. Short commutes, 15 minutes or whatever. Nothing like commuter warrior an hour. And you go down to the school zones, and you might have a good elementary school here. No. So this is just bad, and it's a $300,000 house, but you're getting just terrible, terrible schools. So big incentive not to live in the city or near the city if you're in a family, and an incentive towards sprawl. I mean, I'm not super familiar with the rest of the school zones in this area, so I'm not going to go through it, but it's just another quick illustration of how these close-in residential neighborhoods tend to have not so good schools, and it's a big incentive to just drive real far. All right, thanks for watching the video today, and I hope you enjoyed the topic. Leave me a comment if you bothered to watch. Have a good one.